let's progress the conversation on by looking at how our Ghanaian players fared in the Premier League this season. We had Andre Ayew surviving with Nottingham Forest, but unfortunately, Partey with Leicester relegated, Kamaldeen Sulemana, Mohamed Salisu with Southampton relegated as well. And for the rest of the players, Jordan Ayew had quite a good one with
Andre Ayew was released by Nottingham Forest, so his contract has expired. So he, along with Jesse Lingard, I think Jack Colback, a couple of other guys have been released. So I think he'll be looking for a new team come next season. It will be interesting to see where he lands. I'm trying to see if he goes back to the Gulf or he stays in mainstream Europe. That will be interesting to see.
Exactly. So let's bring you the statistics now related to our players. Now we have a nice presentation for you on that. We've done a huge build-up on that. Susu Graham will get into that, starting with Andrea. Susu, what do we have?
We're starting with Antoine Semenyo.
Semenyo first.
Alphabetical order.
Okay, let's do Semenyo first.
Great.
Yes. Let's do Semenyo first.
So Semenyo, he joined Bournemouth in January, so he didn't really get into it. So one thing I used to kind of show how much they were playing is the minutes per game, because each appearance is not the same. So if you are making, let's say, 90 minutes per appearance, it means that when you play, you play. But if you're like Semenyo and making 23 minutes per appearance, it shows that the coach is bringing you off the bench and not starting too many games. So we can understand him scoring only one goal. It's not... And he's playing for Bournemouth. So it was a difficult season. He's still adjusting. So I guess next season, we'll see, depending on the players they buy, his role in the team, what he can do. But I think there's a lot to build up from.
Okay, so he made 11 appearances, scored one goal, no assist. He lasted 23 minutes per game, no yellow card, with a shooting accuracy of 33%. Ben, is this impressive for you?
Not impressive, but not really his doing. I would give him a pass for this season because, again, there's a lot of upheaval at AFC Bournemouth this season. Changed managers, new signings came in. He was one of these new signings. They had to fight off relegation, eventually stabilize their season. And like Susu mentioned, he didn't play a lot of games, so it's hard to build rhythm when you are in and out of the squad. I'm thinking that, look, he's injured as we speak, and I think he will be ready to begin preseason for next season. So I'm hoping that he will use that period of preseason to properly, mesh with the rest of the squad. And then I would say an acceptable season for Semenyo would be 10 goals. And even that would be pushing it because AFC Bournemouth don't create a lot of chances. That's the honest truth of the matter. And so if he gets 10 goals, that will be considered a stellar season for him. For what he's done now, I don't think he saw enough game time for me to make fair judgment. But I saw glimpses that had me feeling like he actually does belong, but he has a full season to prove us all.
So that's a pass for you. Okay, let's go back to Susu and talk about the next Ghanaian player, the Black Stars captain, Andre Ayew. Just what do you have there for him?
Yeah, I think Andre Ayew struggled to make an impact in Nottingham Forest. And it's not a surprise. I think he didn't seem quite fit when he came. I don't think he was able to get rhythm similar to Semenyo. And in the end, his contract has not been renewed. I think it was a very disappointing spot. I think his most notable thing was missing a penalty. It just tells you how... No, seriously, I think Steve Cooper and him have a good relationship. So
that's what I was about to say.
Wanted to kind of give him a chance. He thought he could make an impact.
Yeah.
He didn't really. I think they survived in the end, so all's well that ends well. But he'll be looking for a new club. So, I hope he goes to a club where he plays more. I think they didn't utilize him. I think they weren't able to get the best out of him. Mm-hmm. So hopefully his next club, he gets more game time.
So 13 league appearances for Andre. He didn't score a goal. He didn't give any assists. As Susu said, notably, he missed a penalty. Ben, your thoughts on these stats related to Andre Ayew?
Listen, I thought this was a puzzling move by Nottingham Forest to begin with, but Steve Cooper, Andre Ayew relationship exists. Andre Ayew probably gave Steve Cooper the best individual goal-scoring season in his managerial career. And so I wouldn't be surprised, but the fact that he didn't play him a lot just went to speak a lot about the readiness of Andre Ayew or his readiness to help the team in the state in which they were. And if you noticed how Nottingham Forest played, again, it was surprising they went and brought in a player like that because their game is very long ball, run, counter-attack. If you see how Taiwo Awoniyi plays, long ball placed into space, Brendan Johnson, they are running. It's a lot of running type of football, and that's not his game. And so I was really surprised when they brought him in. It didn't seem like the right type of fit for me, and rightly so, he didn't play a lot of matches. And so, you're right, the penalty he missed, unfortunately, was the most notable part of his season in the league, and that's a shame because I think Andre has contributed decently to the Premier League during his time at West Ham, during his time at Swansea. And so for it to have, gone on and ended like this for some time, I think they even acknowledged him for his 100th Premier League match or something of the sort. And so, yeah, big ups to him. Again, like I'm saying, it will be interesting to see where he lands for next season. But I think this was one of those forgettable experiences. It was in the Premier League. It was with Steve Cooper. The experience, I'm sure, was great. But I'm sure he would have made more of an impact for Al Sadd if he had stayed with them. But, hey, it was a good exercise heading to the World Cup and all of that. I'm sure he'll take it.
There's one word I pick out from Ben's analysis: a forgettable season for Andre Ayew, the Black Stars captain. From him, let's talk about his deputy at the Black Stars level. That's Partey of Arsenal. So this is what you have.
So we have Thomas Partey here. He played 33 games, and his minutes per game is 75. So he was a key part of the Arsenal team. And if you look at Thomas Partey, look at him. The main thing was his ball progression. And he did that in two ways. So you look at his passes into the final third, 231, and his take-on success rate, 77.8%. So that was the highest in the league. So when he did take on players, it was very good, and he was very successful.
Are you kidding me? Wait, hold on a second. Are you saying that, is that among central midfielders or for the whole league?
The whole league.
Wow.
Yeah, so if you look at, that's what I'm saying. So, and the passing to the final third, it shows you that he's able to progress the ball very well. So look at this. And I think the 75 minutes per game, I think it wasn't held by that period where, if you remember, Jorginho kind of came into the team for a while. He was kind of a bit dropped. I think his form dropped a bit towards the end of the season. So there was that kind of change. So I think Partey had a good season for me, key part of the Arsenal team, and remains to be seen how next season
goes. All right, so Susu says it's a good season for Thomas Partey. It got to a point where we're wondering, was he out of Arsenal's first 11 because he lost that spot to Jorginho, but he's back. Ben, your thoughts on Partey's season? It's difficult to really say he did extremely well.
I don't think it's as difficult to judge. I think he had a legacy-saving season. His reputation was on the line this season, not for ability reasons, but for availability reasons. Because, look, nobody cares how good you are if you can't stay on the pitch to play.
Availability is the best ability.
Exactly. I don't care how good you are at your job. If you can never be present to do the job, we don't care.
Yeah.
And that's what Arsenal fans were. A lot of them were getting to that point with Thomas Partey. It's like, wow, this guy is really brilliant when he plays, but he's barely ever available to play. And so it's very frustrating. And I think that's a big feather in the cap for the Arsenal medical team, because he played 33 league matches. That's almost all the matches this season, from somebody who was very sketchy the past season. So that, again, means that they really managed his minutes well this season. And so I'm not really surprised that he suffered a bit of a burnout towards the end of the campaign. Again, that Saliba injury puts more responsibility on him to do more work between the lines. And if you've been through the sort of injuries he's been through, you will be very reluctant to do a lot of gun-ho running in between the lines. And so I think that he did well by holding the level he held this season. That take-on stat still shocks me. That, again, I've always had the mindset that Partey is a better player further up the field than he is where he currently plays. Again, coaches and analytics people will probably disagree.
I disagree.
Yeah, I always feel like if you want goals out of him and assists out of him, he can give you a lot more than what we see him do. But he's that kind of guy. He's very tactically disciplined. And so if you want him to stay in a certain zone in the game, he will stay there all game and not move. If you play him in a game like we saw against Tottenham, where there were points where Arsenal required him to get forward, and I think he has some of the cleanest ball striking techniques I've seen in the league. If he does take a shot on target, he barely ever misses by a wide margin. It's almost always on target or is really close. So I think he should shoot more. I feel like he saved his legacy this season. He showed Arsenal fans who he is. I mean, at a point, we were having Partey-Casemiro debates.
Exactly.
And Casemiro, for me, between Casemiro, Rodri, and maybe a few other big guns in Europe, those are the best of the best in the position globally. And so if you have your name in the mix with these people, you know that you are doing something right. Again, for Arsenal, they don't want to have to put a 38-game strain on a guy like Partey. And we can see that if you are fit, they will do it. Bukayo Saka has shown that he's young, and they are using him to a point where...
Arteta has a template first 11.
I think that system is wrong because, look, I'll give you an example just to digress shortly before we go on. Ashley Cole, when he was 30 years. He said he felt like he was 40. You know why? He had been playing first team football since age 18 or 17, right? From Arsenal through to, I think it was Chelsea. He just kept on playing first team football. As long as you don't get injured, these managers will run you into the ground. So for me, they need to manage him better. But for Partey, I think he can look back at his season and say that he had a very, very good season. He had 1 or 2 bad games, but everybody's allowed to have a bad game every now and then.
All right, let's talk about the next player. He saved his best for the last, and that was against Liverpool on the final match day. The second goal he scored in that game, my goodness. Kamaldeen Sulemana. So let's talk about him now.
I think another January signing who struggled to make an impact. And I think, interestingly enough, a lot of people didn't talk about this, but Southampton had similar issues to Chelsea in the sense that they brought a lot of players in quickly. They didn't gel. There was a change of ownership. And that also contributed to them. Because remember, they and Chelsea both had 3 managers this season. So it's all part of it.
Wow,
but you look at Kamaldeen Sulemana, again, he struggled to kind of get into the team when he did come. Because there was a lot of times he didn't play at Rennes. So he comes in 18 games. He plays just over half the minutes in those games he does play. So there was a bit of trust. But I think it took time to come. And I think because of his rustiness and his own inadequacies as a player, he didn't have the impact he would have liked. Because I think his decision-making is still a weakness. We saw that in the Man City game. And we saw it in various other games. So I'm not sure what happens with him. Because I'm hearing that Southampton, there's a 40% wage reduction for all their players due to relegation. So I don't know if he wants to be there for that 40%.
Sure.
I don't know what the level he wants to play at. So it will be a very interesting summer.
All right, let's quickly look at the other players.
I'd have loved to see his take on success.
Before we try and leave the show, so that's Leicester City Samate as well. He played 20 games. He didn't score any assist as well. He had just
that pass completion rate is high, though.
Pass completion of 91.1%.
A lot of very nice shots.
So that's
he
for
kept in lead.
Mate.
But I think the problem with Amate is, I think after the January window, he didn't play again. I think he was kind of phased out of the team because I remember...
They brought in Harry Suter.
Yes, we did a Football Made in Ghana show where we had the stats for all the players in Europe. And it was the template I used when I was collating the stats. He and Salisu, I think from that show was about... The Premier League, they had played about 31 games at the time. Yeah. They haven't played any more games for various reasons. So
Salisu's been injured.
Amate was frozen out. And honestly, it shows how, I don't want to be rude, but it shows how poor he was, that this Leicester team, who could not stop anything, didn't feel the need to put him back in the team. So I think
it's a poor season for him.
Very poor. Come in and they use you as a measure of last resort. I think that alone just sums up your season.
Okay, let's get a start of the next player, Mohamed Salisu. Yes, let's talk about him now. Mohamed Salisu, he had 22 league appearances. Ben, your thoughts on his statistics there? He made 122 appearances.
Man, I think if he had been more available this season, perhaps they would have been better defensively. But that's pretty much what I can say. He's also had a season to forget for most part. He didn't play enough football. His best memories from this season would definitely be from the national team, and so that should just sum up his campaign.
Let's check that one for Tariq Lamptey. Yes, Tariq Lamptey also had a very interesting season. That was quite, hindered by injuries and all that. He made some... He had 1 yellow card. When your thoughts on Tariq Lamptey?
And he came on as a sub 17 times with 20 appearances.
Decent season for most part. He would come on and inject pace and life into their attack. But I think that his injuries ensured that he couldn't convince De Zerbi that he was a player he could rely on full-time going into next season. And so that for Tariq has to be the aim next season. Don't forget that they've qualified to Europe, meaning that there will be more stress on their squad, meaning that they'll be depending on more players. And so he needs to show the manager that he can be available to play more games. He's a good player when he plays, very pacey. We know what he can do. So he just needs to be available a lot more.
Let's talk about the 2 Crystal Palace players. That's Jordan Ayew and also Jeffrey Schlupp. For Jordan, well, I think anytime he sees
Susu and Roy
Hodgson is happy. He made 38 appearances, scored 4 goals,
all the games,
3 assists. And so that's the statistics there for Black Stars, Jordan Ayew. Let's look at that one for Jeffrey Schlupp as well. Then, so let's mash
2 Ghanaian players.
Ghanaian
players ranked first and second in the Premier League for successful take-ons. I think that's very
significant.
So his was percentage. Hold on, guys. So Schlupp had a very good season as well. He had 34 league appearances, 3 goals with 1 assist, and tackles won 46% as well. So quick thoughts on Ayew, that's Jordan and
Okay.
Schlupp, the two of them together.
Hey, listen, I think there's something about working with Roy Hodgson that just motivates Jordan extra because, look, Hodgson comes in and his play changes. Yes, he works hard for every manager, but Hodgson puts Jordan in the positions where he can succeed. His running is a lot more free. He's doing less defensive work, but at the same time finds ways to help out. But I just think that, hey, if this is how he plays when Hodgson is around, like I'm saying, he should bring him around when he comes to the national team. Would love it. As for Schlupp, I've never, ever shied away from saying I think Jeffrey Schlupp is one of the best Ghanaian players out there and the one we are underutilizing the most. He's basically like a Swiss Army knife. Left back, left wing back, DM, AMC, right wing, left wing. He can literally do it all. And if you see how he finishes when he gets in the penalty box, he can basically play as a striker for you. And so all I will say is every time Schlupp plays, it doesn't matter the system, he's successful. As a nation, we should go back to him, speak to him, and get him back in our fold.
So that's the analysis from Ben on the Crystal Palace players, Jordan Ayew and also Jeffrey Schlupp, how they fared under Roy Hodgson. So let me pick your thoughts on them as well as you walk towards to sit as well. And have your seat whilst you give us analysis.
Okay, so for me, I really enjoyed the Jordan Ayew stats because I think we all know his ball carrying is great, and it was shown that he drew the most fouls in the Premier League, and he had the second most successful take-ons by volume. Partey was by percentage, so we have those ball movers. But I will criticize his goal scoring. I think 4 goals. If you play 38 games as a forward, it's not good enough. 4 goals and 3 assists.
I think 3 of those goals came during the Hodgson period.
I think if you're a player, you play 38 games as a forward, even for a mid-table team, your goals and assists combined should be at least 10.
Exactly.
I think that's the minimum. I think Jeffrey Schlupp, we saw his
I like how
tenacity.
you say goals and assists combined.
No, because if you are playing wide,
And it's fair enough.
you have to
5
contribute
assists, 5 goals.
Yeah, you have to contribute some.
It's fair enough.
And we look at Jeffrey Schlupp. He's top 10 in fouls and top 10 in tackles. So you see the tenacity, the energy. He'll be great for our midfield. So a good season for him.
So grateful for your analysis. There's Susu Graham, Benjamin Nketiah. Grateful to you guys for your analysis. And also to the production team, Bernard, Ebo Osei, Edem Kayi, and all that. What a huge crew behind what has been a very exciting Premier League season here for you. This has been the Premier League preview show here. Certainly we'll be back with more analysis for you when the new season is on the horizon. Hasta la próxima from me. Evans, of you, Manso.